Welcome to Scaling Your Healthy Food Product podcast, where we believe the process of scaling better for you product doesn't have to be lonely, hard, or complicated, but following simple steps to prepare your product to scale correctly will set you up to succeed. If that is you, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jacinta. Let's get started, everybody. Here's a question for you. What's the shelf life of your product? Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months? Is it 12 months? What do you have on the label? And how did you come about the months that you have on the label or years? How did you come up with that? How did you decide the number of months that needs to be on your label, on your product? That's what we're talking about this week. Well, the topic this week is accelerated shelf life versus actual shelf life. What's the difference and why does it matter? So let's talk about it. So there's accelerated shelf life and there's actual shelf life. So what are they? Accelerated shelf life, just by the definition of the name, accelerated. So this is a testing model where you put your product and you accelerate how fast the product could go bad by storing it in very high temperatures, very heightened condition, and seeing what's going to happen to the product. It's a predictive model. You're using it to predict. It's early stages. You're using it to predict your shelf life. So you subject your product in very high conditions in a short time, and you extrapolate it, and it's kind of like a predictive model. It helps you to predict how long your product can stay on the shelf and still be in a good condition. But it is a predictive. But then on the other hand, the actual shelf life, this is the real shelf life of your product. And this is more like a validation step of your shelf life. This, you can be able to keep it for so many months, and then you evaluate the properties that could go bad, the properties that your product would fail, for you to be able to determine how long your product can stay on the shelf for however many months and still be in a good condition, still be in a state where you're happy when your product is taken off the shelf. And if it's still at 6 months, or if it's at 12 months, it's still good. The consumer is still going to like your product. It's not going to be offensive. However the composition of your product is, it's not going to be offensive to your consumer. So that's the actual shelf life. But why does it matter? Like, what's the difference? That's a difference. And why it matters is, it's important in the sense that when you're developing your product. So let me talk to the early developers, the early stage of developing a product. When you develop a product and you don't really know how long the product is going to stay on the shelf, especially the very early stages. So then how do you figure out how long this product is going to stay on the shelf and still be safe for your consumer, and still be, like I said, not offensive when they eat, in terms of the sensory aspects of it. When they eat it, they're still going to enjoy your product. So this is the early stage, and this is where now we use the accelerated shelf life, because this one helps you to predict how long the product can stay on the shelf and still be okay. And usually it's a short distance. It's like it could be 6 weeks, in a short period of 6 weeks, and every week almost like represents a month. You close it down in such a short time. Like, this is 3 months. You already know how your product is going to survive. Usually they put it in it's like a chamber. They would put it in high temperatures, high humidity, to be able to figure out. And in this case, I really like this part of the shelf life, because it does tell you also, it kind of stress tests your packaging, because this is where you also know if your packaging is not good enough to be able to sustain and to keep your product for longer. Because if you haven't looked at it, there's an episode about packaging. Go back and listen to that one, because it covers the packaging piece of it, and how you can even extend the shelf life of your product just with with packaging. So I like the accelerated shelf life that way. And this one is good because it gives you the quick insights. And this is where you want to know, how is your product going to fail? And I'm also including packaging here because you can have a good product and everything else is good. The product development is good in your product. But guess what fails you? Packaging, because you're putting it in a packaging that is not able to keep your product in the freshest, the most freshest form for longer, just because the packaging itself is not good enough to be able to sustain. Maybe it's missing in the sense that the humidity, it's letting in humidity into your product. And if your product is like dry and it's high hygroscopic, it will absorb the moisture. And if texture is your thing, then it's going to lose that texture, the crispiness or the crunchiness. If it's a cracker, it's going to lose the crunchiness because now the moisture has come into your product. So that's why I like the accelerated shelf life, and that's the difference in how we use it in that way, especially in the early stages of product development, and you don't have history of your product. That's when this one comes in play, because then you can use it and be able to figure out how you can, or how many months you can put your product and still be safe. And this one helps you. It kind of makes your predictions be good because it's always on the safety side of things. So accelerated shelf life, that's how we would use it. For the actual, you need to be able to validate this. So regardless of whether you have like accelerated shelf life that you've done on your product, you need to be able to validate this. It's especially before you launch it, if you're able to. But if you're not able to launch it, then there are other things that you can do to be able to still have like a better shelf life and more of an accurate predicted shelf life of the product that you're putting in your product. And then the actual shelf life, this one is also required by regulatory authorities, CFI in Canada and FDA in the US. It's required, and even when you're getting audited, they're going to ask you for your shelf life of your product. So it's very important. This is like more like the in-house technical know-how. You need to be able to do this and for you to be compliant. So you want to be compliant in terms of food safety, and you also want to be compliant in terms of the regulatory bodies. You want to be able to be compliant if you're sending your product to the US, you want to be compliant to the FDA, also SCFI if you're producing your product here, and vice versa. You're producing your product in the US, you're compliant to the FDA, and you're sending it here, you also still have to be compliant to the CFI. So very important, because you'll get audited, and if you're not compliant, you're going to lose some points there. So you don't want to lose some points. But overall, very important, because it is the safety of the consumer is involved in this case. Businesses have lost money because of not knowing about this and launching a product that was not ready, because they did not realize that the shelf life was important, and they didn't realize that it was something that they needed to test. And somebody just told them, you know what, just slap 12 months on there, or slap 6 months, and you're okay. But they didn't do their due diligence. So the accelerated shelf life helps you to be able to predict the shelf life of your product, and you kind of get like quick insights. And then the actual shelf life, you have the quick insights. Let's say you started with 6 months, and then when you do the actual shelf life of your product, you validate it and you realize, oh, it's still good at 9 months. So now you can extend the shelf life of the product on your packaging. You can increase that. Of course, you're going to have to wait to figure out like the packaging way, how you do that. But then you know that you're safe. You still have 3 more months, and that gives you more time on the shelves, and it gives you more time for you to sell your product. Otherwise, it's going to go bad. It's going to go over the shelf life. It's going to be over the shelf life, and you're going to have to throw away those products, because the shelf life actually helps you in the sense that it gives you time. By the time the product gets into distribution, it's like about, give or take, it could be 2-3 months. So you're already losing about 2 to 3 months, depending on how fast your distribution is before it gets on the shelf and before it gets on your consumer. So you're already losing that. So the longer you have, the more time you have for your product to be sold to consumers and for more people to enjoy your product. There you go. That's what I wanted you to have a feel about the accelerated and actual shelf life, because most people don't know, at least the food businesses that I've talked to, more people are getting to know about this, but the ones that I've been interacting with, some of them didn't really know about the accelerated shelf life. And it's okay, because not everybody is from the food industry. Not everybody has the food background, but this is why I'm here. Because remember, my mission is to make sure that healthy food brands make it to the food shelves and they're able to be sold, and we're contributing to the next generation and sustainability, and we're just being health conscious, and the health consciousness is being pushed forward, and we're just helping each other to grow better and be healthy for longer. So with that said, I'm going to be covering how to choose the right approach when it comes to the shelf life, and how to save your business from the pitfalls that can come from having the wrong shelf life, and teaching you the right way to figure out the shelf life of your product. So there's a workshop coming in. This is May 15th, and it's going to be 12 to 1. This is EST. So make sure you register. There's like registration on the show notes. Take advantage of that, because when you do that, you're ready. And I'm also going to give you some insights on how you can do this in-house to be able to save money, because some of this, especially the accelerated shelf life, can be expensive, but there are ways around it. Well, in some ways you need to do it, but there are ways around how you can do some of this some of this test in-house to be able to save cost for yourself. I want to save cost for you, because when I save cost for you, more money goes in your pocket, and you have better margins, and you have more money to use in marketing and other things that will push your brand forward and bring your product to more people. Until next time, visit kamaresearch.com to get yourself the guide to scaling your food business. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss all the tips that are coming your way when they come in. Until next time, keep scaling your business.